Simply Cooking by MmmChef is brought to you in part by Findlay Foods, offering wholesale food distribution services in Ottawa, Kingston, and all points between since 1986.
Watch me make a 3-course meal live on the spot using discounted produce and ingredients I got at the grocery store. I love grocery shopping, and I'm lucky I do because I'm at a different grocery store almost every day. And one of the things that brings me the biggest rush is getting stuff at discount. One of my favorite things to do with a freestyle client, which is when a client tells me that they don't really care what I make and I get to just buy the ingredients and make it up, is to go straight to the discount produce section and then straight to the meat or protein discount section and buy things that are 50, 25, 30% off and just create a meal. One of the main reasons I love to do this is because I know how the industry works, and the food that doesn't get bought on the discount racks actually gets thrown away. And that hurts my chef heart so much. So I love to save, I call it saving the produce or saving the meat. This morning I went to the grocery store and I bought a bunch of stuff that was on discount, and I'm literally going to be making a 3-course meal live that I just came up with 10 minutes ago, for real, for real. I found this beautiful piece of pork loin that was 50% off. I have a sad looking purple cauliflower. You can see all the little black dots on here. I'll cut those off, but this was also a 50% off discount. I've got a sad cucumber, some dry limes and a dry lemon, some dry sad broken carrots, and these strawberries that were 30% off because they're about to go. I always make sure that I have certain staples on hand to make sure that throwing together a discounted last second meal is easy. I always make sure I have a grain. Today I'm going to be using this gluten-free corn and quinoa pasta, but quinoa, rice, millet, buckwheat, having wild rice, short pasta, having a grain on hand is always a great idea for adding into a recipe. When I saw all these ingredients, I just thought for a few minutes, what do I have on hand and what can I use? I always have oils like olive, avocado, coconut, and I actually always have sesame oil. So I saw the pork and I saw the veggies and thought, let's make an Asian-inspired stir fry. I have grains at home and I have all the Asian flavors that you might need. Then I found this really yucky looking cilantro that was also discounted. So I picked that up too, and I'm gonna turn this all into that. I'm gonna be starting with my first course, which is going to be a quick Asian-inspired cucumber salad. And I'm also gonna be starting with my strawberries. I thought I could cut the tops off of these strawberries and get them into a colander so that I can wash them. And I'm gonna cook these low and slow. I always have my coconut yogurt in the fridge, and most people have some type of yogurt or even a cream that they use in their coffee, or maybe even ice cream in your freezer. And this is a great way to use up fruit that is going bad. Cook it down with a little bit of sugar, let it evaporate a little bit, and then you can pour it, the cooked compote basically, onto your coconut yogurt, your regular yogurt, or whatever dairy. You could also turn this into something savory. So instead of adding sugar to your strawberries, you could add something like balsamic vinegar, and then you would create a savory compote if you added some salt, and you could eat this, reduced strawberry concoction on a piece of grilled pork chop or something like that. Some of these strawberries at the bottom of my basket aren't as bad. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to save some of these so that I can use them for garnish at the very end. Let me put these to the side, and I'll give these a quick rinse and get them in my pot on low. My strawberries are washed. I like a little bit of moisture in there because that water is actually gonna help me cook them down. I'm gonna get this on the stove with a little bit of sugar. I just have some non-processed cassonada sugar, which is like the non-bleached version of a white sugar. So it is a little bit processed actually. And I'm going to use the juice of this sad lemon. You can see that it's going, but I'm just gonna use the juice inside. So I'm gonna use that right away. I'm just gonna use half of it for now and put the other half here. I'm gonna get my stove on and put this guy on medium low and get him simmering. Now, while my strawberries are getting all cooked and delicious for our dessert, then I'm going to make this quick cucumber salad. I have my other bowl over here. And this cucumber is kind of soft and sad. So let me give it a clean up. So I'm gonna get rid of this part. What's great is if you have some time on your hands, you can save money. Even if you did this 2 or 3 days a week and you decided that, 2 or 3 nights a week, I'm not gonna plan my meals. I'm gonna go to the store and see what's on sale and pick up odds and ends in my fridge and in the discount section and just make up the meal. You can save quite a bit. I mean, for example, this was almost $16 regular price and I got it half off. I'm going to slice my cucumber. I like to do it with a paring knife like this. It comes for quick work. I always have also some vinegars on hand. Those really help with quick meals on the spot. I always have balsamic vinegar, white vinegar, apple cider vinegar, and today I'm gonna be using rice vinegar because it has Asian flavor and we're making kind of an Asian flavored stir fry. I'm gonna do my cucumbers in 2 different sizes because why not? That's a lot of fun. And then the rest of the ingredients I'm gonna be prepping after the break, for my stir fry. So I'm gonna be cutting up my pork into strips. I'm going to peel and cut the onion into strips. I'm gonna cut off all the little pieces from this cauliflower, the carrot, and the kale. I got everything in the discount section. You can see it's all a little bit sad, but we don't want to waste perfectly good produce. This is a lime that is kind of dry, so I'm gonna go in there with my bigger knife to make sure that I can actually get the juice out of it. I'm gonna do the whole lime here. I'm gonna put a nice big pinch of salt in here because I want the salt to draw out the moisture from these cucumbers so that they can have a little bit of a quick pickle. And I've got that rice vinegar here, which I'm going to just a little tiny splash, a little tiny drizzle of sesame, some chili flakes. I always have these in my pantry. I love a spicy cucumber. And I'm gonna tear off just a tiny bit of that sad looking cilantro that still has the full flavor. Give this a toss. Look at that, that looks beautiful. Now I'm gonna set these to the side to marinate, and this will go really nice as a bright crunch and fresh flavor to go with our warm stir fry. I'm gonna get this board all cleaned up. I'm gonna clean up my cauliflower. I'm gonna fill up my pot with water to get it boiling so that I can drop my pasta, cook that on the break, and when we get back, we'll assemble the stir fry.
This program is brought to you in part by Findlay Foods, providing wholesale food distribution services including gluten-free, halal, kosher, and many other products in the Ottawa and Kingston areas.
I just drained my quinoa pasta. I'm rinsing it with cold water because unlike regular glutinous pasta, I want it to be cooled down quickly so that my gluten-free noodles don't stick together. There we go. They're nice and cool. I'm gonna leave those in my sink while I prepare the other pieces for our Asian-inspired stir fry. So I'm going to clean and cut my cauliflower. My favorite way to cut a cauliflower is to turn it upside down and stick my knife in and go around the circle, and it naturally falls apart for me. Look at that. Now my cauliflower is in a whole bunch of different pieces and I don't have to struggle with cutting through my florets. Awesome. Just gonna grab my paring knife because, as mentioned, there are some little tiny brown specks, but because it was discounted, but it doesn't mean that it's actually bad. So I'm just going to clean that up real quickly. I love to use my sink as a garbage bowl. Then at the end of when I'm cooking, I can just clean up everything in the sink, which I already will have to clean up anyway because I've been draining stuff in there and washing stuff in there. So this allows me to use less dishes. All right, so my cauliflower is all cleaned up and ready to go. So when you're doing a stir fry, I always like to start my stir fry with an onion and a garlic. So I've got an onion and a garlic here, but you can really use any veggies that you like. I like to use a green veggie usually, so something like a kale or a spinach. If there's bell peppers, they're really great for stir fry. There wasn't any today in the discount section, so that's why we're using this beautiful purple cauliflower. Oh, I just got a great whiff of those strawberries. They smell delicious, and look at that caramelization and syrup happening in the bottom of the pan there. And I have this discounted kale that is a little bit yellow, but because we're gonna stir fry it right away, it doesn't really matter. I'm gonna pull this off my stems and get my stems in the sink so I can compost them later. And then I have some carrot. Let me move this over so you can see what I'm doing. Then I have some carrots. I'm gonna take the ends off and turn them into little rounds. What's great about using sad carrots in a stir fry, oh, run away carrot, is that they're already a little bit soft. And when you're doing a stir fry, another one, when you're doing a stir fry, hard vegetables, you tend to have to cook at different timings because obviously this carrot, if it was really hard, would take a lot longer to cook than, let's say, the onion, the kale, or even the cauliflower. But the fact that this carrot is a little bit sad and a little bit wilted, it's nice and soft for me, which means that it will cook up a lot faster. My carrot is ready to go. I said I wasn't gonna do onion on TV, but this is a sad discounted onion, so hopefully it's not as pungent as a regular onion. Let's give this guy a quick chop. I like to do the half moons because then it gives me nice little strips of the onion. And I like a little bit bigger pieces of onion for a stir fry. Awesome. You can use whatever veggies you have in the fridge. If you don't have veggies, you could even open up a can of beans or something like that. A little piece of garlic. If there had been ginger on sale, I would have picked up a little piece of ginger. Sometimes you may have some ginger in your fridge, or even some powdered ginger would go really nice here with this, but I don't have any today. So my kale, I'm going to twist to give a beautiful chop. Because the kale is nice and hearty and it's something that doesn't wilt easily, I can stir fry it really nicely. If this was something like, let's say, a spinach or a more delicate green, I wouldn't prepare it now. I would actually add this in at the very end, but I don't need to do that because kale is nice and strong. Now I'm gonna give my cauliflower some quick small pieces. And because this cauliflower is so pretty, I might actually save some to eat raw, because once you cut into stuff that's discounted sometimes, it's actually not as bad as the outside looks. So you might buy a carrot that has some brown or black bruising on it, or cauliflower like a white one that has a lot of brown on it. But as soon as you cut off the little tiny pieces that aren't so nice and you get inside, there's really no rotting happening, so you might as well use it. One of my favorite feelings is when I finish grocery shopping and I can see at the bottom of my receipt how much money I saved or how much in discounts I got. This in particular, I bought all this stuff and everything was discounted between 30 and 50%. Imagine how much money you could save if you even just did one meal a week over a year. at discount instead of buying things full price. Probably a nice significant amount of money. These two beautiful florets, I'm gonna save them to eat raw. All right, I'm gonna get my frying pan on. I want it on medium high. I want to get it nice and hot so that my stir fry will cook quickly. I'm going to move my veggie over real quick and make do with my pork. So whatever meat you find on sale, you could use ground meat in this situation. You could use chicken breast, chicken thighs. You could use steak. You could use another roast cut. Lamb would even work. And if you don't eat meat at all, you could definitely just use some tofu or tempeh or even a can of beans like I mentioned. This one was wrapped and ready to go in the oven, but because I'm using it for something else, I'm just gonna cut the strings off of it. And I'll get my bigger knife. This I'm going to cut into slices. Got some tough fat there, so maybe I'll cut that off. I also don't throw this stuff away. So I have this little piece of pork here. I'm gonna put it to the side with the fat and the gristle. I actually save that. I save all the little pieces of meat and I put them in a Ziploc bag and throw them in the freezer. This means that once that bag gets full, I have all these odds and ends of pieces of pork that I can use to make a stock or a broth, or even to cook down the fat so that I have fat rendered. You can also cut stuff like this that's a little bit tougher into tiny, tiny little pieces and fry it up like you would little pieces of bacon, and then you have little crispy pieces of meat. I do this with all of the beef that I buy and use and all of the pork. So I always have a little bag of pork cuts and a little bag of beef cuts in my freezer. Same thing that you do with meat when you are slicing it to eat when it's cooked. You want to cut against the grain. So you'll see here that this pork kind of goes this way and the fat also goes this way. So I want to make sure that I'm cutting the opposite direction, which will allow for it to be more tender in my bite when I eat it. Another neat trick about soft meat like this is if it's hot or you are, not wanting to, your knife isn't as sharp as it needs to be, you can actually pop a piece of meat like this in the freezer for, a half an hour or 45 minutes or so that it can get a little bit hard in the middle and just a tiny little bit frozen. And this will actually help your knife get through it. My favorite thing to do that trick with is actually chicken and like chicken breast, because it's kind of floppy when it's defrosted, but when it has a little bit of frozenness to it, it holds up much better. Now that my pan is nice and hot, I'm gonna drizzle some sesame oil in here. I'm gonna get my meat in the pan. Once my meat is sauteed, I'm gonna remove it, put it to the side, saute my veggies, put them to the side, and then when we get back from the break, we'll make the sauce and put it all together. See you soon. I sauteed my pork and removed it from the pan. I sauteed my veggies, removed them from the pan. I'm adding some sesame oil to my big bowl so that my noodles don't stick together. I've got all my noodles in there, and I'm just gonna give that a quick little toss so that they get coated in the sesame oil completely. Now I'm gonna take the same sesame oil and put some in my pan because I'm making a sauce for my stir fry. Turn on my pan. This is just a sauce I'm making up on the spot. You can use whatever you have on hand. When it comes to Asian flavors, we like a mix of sweet, salty, spicy, sour, all of the different umami flavors. So we've got some sesame oil in the bottom here. I'm going to add tamari. Tamari is a gluten-free soy sauce. You can use regular soy sauce, or you can use coconut aminos if you don't eat soy. Equal parts soy sauce to sesame oil. We want a tiny little bit of rice vinegar for a little bit of sour. We want a tiny little sprinkle of sugar just to balance out that sour for sweetness. All Asian sauces have a little tiny bit of sugar in them. I didn't add any salt because my tamari sauce actually is pretty salty. And now I'm gonna use half this lemon for garnish, and I'm gonna use the other half of the lime. I said lemon, but I meant lime. It's green, it's clearly green. Got my half a lime juice in there, and that's a lovely sauce. At this point, if you had them, you could add fresh ginger, some fresh garlic, you could add chili flakes, but I'm just gonna keep this nice and simple. My pork has juices in it, so I like to add the pork back into the pan with the juices because the juices from the pork actually help create the sauce. And it helps add flavor since we didn't add any flavor to the pork before we sauteed it. It can see that the pork is already picking up the color from the tamari and adding a lot of nice flavor to my pork. All right, I'm going to pull this bowl in front of me. I'm going to place all my sauteed beautiful vegetables on top of my noodles. And this is simmering, I can hear it. I'm gonna actually turn this up just a little bit. And I'm going to let this simmer. So I'm just gonna put this back here while we wait. In the meantime, I'm gonna show you what I'm doing with my strawberries. I have a little bowl here. I have some cultured coconut yogurt. It's a little bit thin because I just made it a day or two ago. And as my yogurt ferments, it gets thicker and thicker. So this is at the beginning stages, but it's still gonna give me that creamy, delicious texture that I'm going for. Pineapple overboard. Then I have my beautiful strawberries that I've cooked down with the sugar. And look how thick and how much of the water has evaporated. It's almost like a quick jam. So I'm going to add a nice little spoonful of that right in the middle. And that simmering sauce with my pork is exactly what I'm looking for. I want to have enough for 2 or 3, so this is a little bit of a bigger portion for me. Something I always also have in the pantry is some form of granola. Whether it's an oat-based granola or a coconut flake-based granola, I always have some in my pantry. And if you don't, but you have oats or you have shredded coconut or even chocolate chips, would go really nicely on this throw together dessert. But I have this seeded granola that I'm going to add to mine. That's beautiful. I've got my appetizer cucumber salad that has been marinating. Let me give this a toss so that all the juice from the bottom can come right up. Oh, yum. That smells amazing with that fresh cilantro. And now my stir-fry meat is done. Get this out of my pan, poured over my vegetables, and let that juice and that flavor from my sauce soak in to my noodles. At this point, you could add something like toasted sesame seeds or some everything but the bagel seasoning would be really nice on here. I'm going to garnish with a little bit of fresh cilantro from this sad looking discounted cilantro that I purchased. Give this a quick chop. Garnish that. Add a squeeze of lime. Oh, yum. And I think I'm gonna give this a little bit of a mix just to give you the idea. Let the noodles come out. This is actually something that would last all week in the fridge. You could prep this and eat it later on. It's obviously great to feed a crowd because it's a lot of food. And everything that I bought today cost me under $30. I was able to make this meal for less than $30. I think I have to give this a taste. Try my noodle with a soft carrot and a little piece of pork. Mmm. You don't have to spend a lot of money buying things that are not on sale or planning your meals for the week. You can actually save money if you give yourself a little bit of creative freedom and don't stick to a list. I hope that this gives you inspiration to create your own meal on the fly. Go to your local store, go to the discount section, pick out some discounted items and make up a meal. And if you do so, you can post it online and tag me because I would just love to see your creative juices flowing in the kitchen. I love nothing more than when a client lets me know that I inspired them to cook something or to use their creative juices in the kitchen. I had so much fun doing this today, and I hope I inspired you. See you next time.